Good morning, everybody. Peace. Well, day 2 was uneventful. I worked my butt off, though. Been doing that a lot to keep occupied, doing favors for neighbors and stuff like that. We all help each other out in this mess because that's all we've got is each other. You know, none of us work, and well, everybody was caught by surprise by this thing. People spend money, people do projects in their yards, and pay people like me for small jobs and stuff, and it catches up to you when suddenly you're without work because there's no school, so the kid you nurse is not going to school, so you have no reason to be a nurse. I have one neighbor like that, and real nice lady. She, just like most people, was like, "Oh crap, I don't have that much money left in my account." When it came time to realize that she was going to be out of work for a month or more, because who knows when school's going to start back up. I mean, this is a 30-day stay-at-home order that I'm doing these stories on, and so school will be out for at least those 30 days. It was already out for 3 weeks, so she's been without work a while and will be. I know a lot of you are going through that. All I can say is, take advantage of the things the government are doing. Get down. Cat trying to knock the monitor down. Hold on. Get down. Get. They get annoyed when you don't pay enough attention to them. But where was I? Yeah. Take advantage of whatever governmental assistance is going on. There are a lot of loans going on right now for small businesses and other businesses that are forgivable loans. You will end up not having to pay them back or paying back very little. So, I mean, it's something to think about. In this time, corporations are working with people as best possible to keep their customer base, to attract a customer base by helping people. And I mean, of course, it's a humanitarian thing, but it's also a marketing tool, let's face it. If you like them because they help people, you're more likely to buy their products. But ran across one interesting thing yesterday morning on my news app. That's the FLA News app here in Tampa Bay, Florida. They had a link to these make-your-own masks. I mean, they're not surgical quality, but they help. And this one was like an origami style, Japanese style. It was actually a link to a Japanese or type site. But it's real simple. You take a bandana and you fold it a few different ways until you end up with this. You fold these back in. Hold on a second. Just woke up. Yeah, you fold them back in. Put that on your face. And there you go. And this is a bandana and 2 hair ties. Or if you couldn't understand that clearly, it's a bandana and 2 hair ties. The CDC has put out a video you can see on their site. You can use old t-shirts. There's a lot of things you can use. You can use rubber bands if you don't have hair ties. Seeing people use shoelaces. The main thing is to cover your mouth and nose. Try to prevent so much from entering them or leaving them if you might be sick or have been near somebody sick. So anything you can do to slow that process is a good thing. And with this style of temporary mask, it's washable. You can make 4, 5, 6 of them in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You don't have to sew anything. So, I mean, so you swap them out. Wear one for half a day or a day and then throw it in the take the hairbands off and throw it in the laundry and put them on another one. It's as simple as folding it up, you know. But you know, everybody's trying to get together, little tricks to help each other, because without, you know, these major corporations telling us, oh, this will help and this will help for $49.95, you know, free shipping and handling, all that crap. People have to use ingenuity, which is not something that's been in high supply in the last 2 decades. You know, when I got locked up in 2010, people were a hell of a lot smarter than they are now. People were more functional, but of course, touchscreen phones and tablets and things like that were a new technology, basically. I remember my first touchscreen phone. It was a T-Mobile G1, one of the first touchscreen phones that actually, you know, Android and all that. I think it was actually maybe even the first to use Android. And the thing was $700, you know. Back then, this was like 2006, I think, 7, 8, something like that. Back then, a tiny little phone could cost more than it to support your family for a month. But, you know, being as I was working and I'm a person who loved to buy new things, especially for myself, I used to replace my phone every year, you know, and they didn't have phone financing back in the beginning. And when they did develop it, it was not all that great. It's much better now. I finance every phone we buy usually, unless I buy something outright, which now the phones are getting cheaper, is more a reasonable concept in some cases. But anyway, I forget why I went off on the smartphone little binge there. But oh yeah, ingenuity. I'm an old fart, forgive me, and I've had 2 strokes. People have forgotten how to think, how to reason out how to get something done without doing it the way they're used to doing it. That's an ability humans have that not a lot of things on the earth have. We have the ability to adapt. And adaptation is what we need in this. We need to adapt to a more solitary lifestyle so that we can all, you know, stay away from each other enough to where the spread of this thing slows down to 0. You know, I've got a friend and her family in China, in an area that was not in complete lockdown, but is like a stay-at-home order type situation. And in her town, they slowed the spread to 0. You know, I don't know how long that took. I forgot to ask. And they were using things like, you know, this little mask, because surgical masks ran out really quick, just like they did everywhere else once it started spreading. So, I mean, if we adhere to policy, if we get beyond our little selfish desires and just realize, okay, I don't really need to run to Walmart. I don't need any essentials, you know, groceries, vitamins, body care, anything like that, garbage bags. I just feel like going to Wally World and chilling out, walking the aisles like a zombie, and getting in my way. But, you know, if we avoid things like that, you know, when you're going out to pick up items at restaurants or wherever for a pickup order, you know, make sure you're standing at least the 6 feet apart. Better yet, sit in your car till your order's ready. You know, a lot of places are texting you. When you get there, you tell them your phone number. They text you when you're ready to be rang up. That's the way it is. The True Leave dispensary, medical marijuana dispensary. You walk up to the door. They've got one of their staff outside with a tablet. They take your ID. If you have an order, they put you in line first. If you're a walk-up, well, you have to wait a little longer. But then they put everything, you know, everybody in a key, however you say that, and their tablet there, which is connected to all the whole staff's computer system. And as each person is ringing up, the next person is automatically loaded in. They have taken your phone number and put you in a texting system. They text the tablet actually texts you. The person doesn't have to do it. And then you walk up, go in, pay your order. Nobody goes into the store who's not ready to pay. That's the thing. And will also suggest, especially if you're a medical marijuana user, there's something called CanPay. It's an app. Truly has it part of their app now, but it pays for your medical marijuana purchases directly from your bank account through kind of like an e-check situation. It takes a couple of days. But handling money right now is kind of a dicey thing because, yeah, sure, it's most likely been sitting in a drawer long enough to, I don't know, the germs aren't going to go away that quick, but, yeah, it's just the whole thing is if you can avoid handling paper money, it might be a good idea, but it also is probably a pretty good idea to keep some around, knowing, of course, that electronic money is only as good as electronic devices. If something were to happen and they couldn't use the point of sale terminals for your debit card, what would you do? Because if that happens, that would also mean the ATMs are offline. I don't know. A little bit, 6 of one, half a dozen of another. But, try to stay prepared. Don't hoard, but try to stay prepared. If you know you really don't need to go grocery shopping again for at least a week to 2 weeks, buy enough toilet paper to last that long. If you have a lot of kids or something, you may have to go to multiple stores because most people have a limit of one package of toilet paper or one case of water, so you may have to go to multiple stores or make multiple trips or bring a friend along to shop with you. But, try to minimize trips out by simply getting the things you'll need for the maximum time possible. But also keeping in mind spend your money wisely because you don't know when or if you get that stimulus check for most people. We're pretty sure we're getting one. I went ahead and filed our taxes, which was highly recommended if you want this check to come quickly. Just watch your money, Try to watch frivolous purchases because I know it's easy. The delivery services are still running, so ordering online and all that. And, and that's another thing, too. You can buy some of your supplies online. Be careful where you're getting them, though. It's not that you'll get price gouged, but you might not be getting the full product quality. I don't know, Day by day, people are adjusting. I'm hearing less traffic on the road. And that's definitely a good thing. Because we live right near US 19, which is one of the busiest highways in Florida. And it gets loud. But now, I might hear 1 or 2 cars, 3, 4, something like that. Nowhere near the amount of noise. So people are getting it. Slowly but surely, and law enforcement is doing their part because the state's left it to them to handle, making sure people aren't gathering. Wherever they're gathering, they stop and question it, and they will write you citations, too, for violating social distancing and for violating the stay-at-home order. Just a warning. If you're out for just no reason and they happen to stop you and ask and you don't have a good reason, from what I understand, for that alone they can write you a citation. So keep that in mind. It's just stop being selfish is the main thing for all of us, myself included. If you don't need it right now, don't go out. If you can stretch it out, stretch it out. If you can get by without it for a little longer, do that. Because the less trips we make out, the less we expose ourselves and therefore our friends, loved ones, children, grandmothers, grandfathers, all that stuff, who are more likely to get this illness, this virus, and it may kill them. As of yesterday, like around 6 o'clock in the afternoon, the Florida Department of Health and the CDC were reporting 195 deaths in Florida so far. That's scary. But today, since they processed information overnight and tests overnight, who knows where that number is going to be, because our diagnosed cases numbers go up from like around 1,000 a day for a little while there. Now, last couple of days, it's only gone up 400 to 500 people a day. So, I mean, that's possible evidence of a curve in this thing. But, I don't know. We just all gotta think outside of ourselves, try to help our neighbors, try to help our friends and family without violating guidelines. Because those guidelines are important, and we should be glad they're only guidelines. In some places in the world, there's military lockdown. Getting major, major trouble for doing anything but what they tell you. And we don't want that here. I mean, it's happening in some areas, and it's because people aren't listening. If you listen, if you stop being part of the problem, then the government doesn't have to put military on the streets. Local law enforcement is enough. So think about that. Do you really want an armed soldier standing in the corner of your street? Because I don't know what their authority is at that point. I know the military in a lot of cases has the freedom to choose to use deadly force. In this case, I guess it would depend on the situation, just like it would when they're anywhere else doing a military action. And please keep in mind, your police, your fire department, they're just trying to do what they've been asked to do. If they ask you, if you call them, they're most likely going to do what they did with me, ask you about anybody sick in your house, fevers, coughs, any of that stuff. And they're probably going to ask about your neighbors too. If your neighbors are sick, you probably should tell them, because we want to make sure everybody who is actually sick with it stays home with it, doesn't go out, and nobody in their house goes out. I'm not sure if you're aware, if you're doing an isolation, a self-quarantine, you cannot have somebody going in and out of the house. That's against the rules. And if you think about it, it's because anybody in that house, anybody that comes into that house, has been exposed and therefore has to self-isolate as well. Now they're saying, oh, I just ran in and out, it's no big deal. Well, while you ran into the store, you brought germs to however many people are in the store. And that's not cool. So, practice social distancing, get used to doing things around the house, maybe catch up on cleaning, read books, play video games, family activities. Hold on a second. And the masks, by the way, are also extremely helpful for seasonal allergies. I was working outside yesterday, and it's a job where I usually end up breathing a lot of crap, dirt and dust and all that. And I wore a mask. That was actually the very one there. I just washed it overnight. And not a thing went up into my nose. No pollen, no dust. These masks fit pretty darn good. You can adjust them, stretch them out a little bit in the pleating. And, they fit across here perfectly, and here, because it goes a little bit under the chin. So if you're suffering allergies right now, which I know we are, the masks are a good idea, and it's cheap. And truthfully speaking, real masks need to be kept for first responders, and for hospital staff. Yes, places have them to order. Does not mean you should break good conscience and order them. Those are needed for, some police, some paramedics, things like that, they're buying their own masks because their department can't get them. And if you buy up the masks, then they can't buy them. If they get infected, then they're off the job, and that's one less person to take care of people when they get sick. So, have a good Sunday. If it's your day of worship, try to worship in small groups, And the Bible, it says, anywhere two or more gather in worship, it's a church. So keep that in mind. You could even have a church in your living room if you are going by biblical definition. With your roommates or your couple of your friends, whatever. So have a good Sunday. Stay well. And, stay out of trouble by staying home. Peace.